Every terrible decision you've ever made, you made while feeling completely sure you were right. That's not a willpower problem, it's a blindness problem. And 3,000 years ago, one man figured out exactly where the blindness comes from. That man was a king. And he sat down and wrote the answer. Not in a thick theological volume, not in a complex philosophical treatise, but in short, sharp, surgical sentences. Observations about human behavior so precise that modern psychology is now confirming them. His name was Solomon, and the collection he left behind is called the Book of Proverbs. But here is what most people miss about this book. Proverbs is not a devotional. It's not a list of religious rules. It is a manual for the mind, a framework for decision-making, written for ordinary people navigating money, relationships, words, and the future. If you have ever said the right thing at the wrong moment and watched a relationship collapse, Proverbs speaks to that. If you have ever trusted the wrong person and paid a price you're still paying, Proverbs speaks to that. If you have ever looked at your bank account, your marriage, your career, or your habits and wondered, how did I get here? Proverbs speaks to that too. By the end of this video, you won't just know what Proverbs says. You'll see the hidden architecture of the whole book, 5 principles that connect into one system, and why it was designed to change the way you think before it ever touches the way you live. To understand Proverbs, you need to understand the man who wrote most of it. Solomon became king of Israel after his father David, and on the night he was crowned, God appeared to him and said something extraordinary. 1 Kings 3:5, ask for whatever you want me to give you, a blank check from God. And what did Solomon ask for? Not power, not wealth, not long life, not the destruction of his enemies. Give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. He asked for wisdom, and God was so moved by that request that he gave Solomon not just wisdom, but wealth and honor on top of it, precisely because he hadn't asked for those. This is the man who wrote Proverbs, not a theoretical philosopher, not a distant religious figure. A king who governed a nation, negotiated with foreign powers, managed a complex court, and who watched, up close, what wisdom builds and what foolishness destroys. That is the weight you're holding when you open this book. What we're about to unpack is not advice. It's a decoded system. 5 principles that, when you see how they connect, reveal one of the most sophisticated frameworks for human decision-making ever written. The book opens with a statement that stops most readers in their tracks, and then they move right past it without understanding what they just read. Proverbs 1:7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Most people read that and think, okay, respect God, got it, moving on. But stop here. Because the word beginning in the original Hebrew is not just a starting point, it is the foundation, the structural base everything else rests on. Solomon is making a claim about the architecture of wisdom itself. He's saying there is a way of seeing reality that only becomes available to you when you accept that your own perspective is limited. Think about that carefully. Every catastrophic decision a person makes, every ruined marriage, every financial collapse, every broken friendship, has the same assumption at its root. I know what's best in this situation. Proverbs challenges that at the structural level. It says the moment you begin approaching life with the posture of I might not see the full picture, that posture is the entry point into wisdom. And then Solomon adds the counterpart. Proverbs 3:5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Here's what almost no one notices. Lean not on your own understanding does not mean stop thinking. It means stop treating your current perspective as the ceiling of available truth. A person standing in the middle of a forest can only see what's immediately around them. Someone elevated above it can see the whole landscape. The dead ends, the rivers, the clearings. Solomon is saying higher perspective is available, but it requires the humility to admit you're standing in the middle of the forest. That is principle 1. And everything else in Proverbs is built on it. Once you understand that wisdom begins with humility, Proverbs moves immediately to the place that posture gets tested first in daily life. Your words. Proverbs 18:21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, not metaphorically. Solomon is saying the mouth is the single most powerful instrument a human being operates every day. And the reason isn't only spiritual, it's psychological. The words we speak, to ourselves and to others, shape how people think and feel in ways researchers are only beginning to measure. Words build internal architecture, or they tear it down. But Proverbs goes deeper than any communication advice you'll ever read. Solomon doesn't just warn you to be careful with words. He shows you what the tongue reveals. Proverbs 4:23. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. The tongue is not the source. The tongue is the indicator. What comes out of your mouth tells you, and everyone around you, what's actually happening inside you. Which is why Proverbs says the one who has knowledge uses words with restraint, and even a fool is thought wise if he keeps silent. That's not advice to shut up. It's a description of mastery. Quiet not out of weakness, quiet out of power. Think about the conversations you regret most. Almost none of them involve saying too little. That's principle 2. And here's where Proverbs gets confrontational. Because it's easy to manage your words when you're alone. What's far harder is managing the influence of the people around you. Proverbs 13:20. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. Notice what it does not say. It doesn't say the companion of fools becomes a fool. It says they suffer harm. You can be wise and still be damaged by your proximity to foolishness. Solomon is describing something we now call behavioral contagion. Human beings absorb the patterns, the language, the emotional states of the people they spend the most time with, not by choice, but by exposure. And his prescription isn't isolation, it's intentionality. In an abundance of counselors, there is safety. Wise people build a circle of voices they trust on purpose. That's principle 3. And that same intentionality extends into something every person on earth wrestles with. Money. Proverbs 6:6. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. The ant has no manager, no supervisor, no one checking its work, and yet it prepares in summer for what winter will demand. Solomon is describing the discipline of living ahead of the moment, delaying gratification, working without applause, preparing for a future that hasn't arrived. But notice what he does not say. He never says money is the goal. Those who trust in their riches will fall. Money handled with wisdom is a tool. Money elevated into a foundation is a trap. And the wealthiest king in Israel's history makes that distinction with zero ambiguity. That's principle 4. And now Proverbs pulls everything together with what may be the most unsettling verse in the entire book. Proverbs 14:12. There is a way that seems right to a person, but its end is the way to death. Read that slowly. There is a path that your brain, your emotions, your instincts, and your logic all agree looks correct, and it leads to destruction. This isn't about obviously bad choices. Obvious bad choices are easy to avoid. This verse is about the paths that feel wise, seem justified, look completely reasonable, and are wrong. Every person who has ever made a catastrophic life decision made it while believing they were right. Solomon saw that pattern and wrote it down 3,000 years ago. Modern psychology gave it a name: cognitive bias, the tendency to read every piece of information in a way that confirms what we already want to believe. Proverbs is not describing moral failure. It's describing something more dangerous: confident misdirection. The certainty that you're headed the right way while walking in entirely the wrong direction. That's principle 5. And it's why the whole architecture exists. Not because God wants to restrict you, but because there's a reality about human cognition that requires a reference point outside your own reasoning to correct for. Discretion will protect you, and understanding will guard you. Wisdom is protective, not restrictive. The way a guardrail on a cliff road is protective. It's not there to limit you, it's there because the drop is real. Here is what most people miss when they read Proverbs. They read it as a collection of advice, separate sayings, random good tips for living. But step back and look at the whole structure, and you see something different. Proverbs is not a list, it's a system. Principle 1. Humility before God corrects for the root cause of all bad decisions. The assumption that I see the full picture. Principle 2. Guarding your words corrects for the most visible expression of an unguarded heart. Principle 3. Choosing your circle corrects for the environmental pressure that quietly redirects even wise people. Principle 4. Disciplined stewardship corrects for the pull toward impulsive, present-focused living. Principle 5. Thinking about consequences corrects for the brain's tendency to mistake comfort for direction. Each one is not a standalone tip. Each one closes a specific gap in human decision-making. Solomon didn't write a devotional. He wrote a diagnostic, a framework for identifying precisely where your reasoning might be failing you before the consequences arrive. And the deepest layer is this: Proverbs 4:7. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom. Though it cost all you have, get understanding. Solomon is saying the pursuit of wisdom is the single most valuable investment a human being can make. Not because it makes you religious, but because it saves you from the specific kind of suffering that comes from making preventable mistakes with confidence. That changes what Proverbs even is. It's not ancient advice, it's preventive medicine for the mind. So what does this mean for the decisions you're facing right now? 3 things. And now I'm just talking to you. First, the most dangerous moment in any decision is the moment you feel certain. Certainty feels like clarity, but Proverbs warns that the path to the worst outcomes often feels like the right one. So before you act on your most confident decisions, the question to ask is not, am I sure? It's, what am I not seeing? I'll be honest with you, this is the one that's cost me most. The decisions I genuinely regret weren't the ones I agonized over. They were the ones I was completely sure about. Second, the people closest to you are not neutral. They are either pulling your life upward or quietly redirecting it downward. And because it happens through exposure and not intention, you usually don't feel it happening. Wisdom is intentional about who gets proximity to you. Third, before the big decision, play the tape forward. Don't ask how the choice feels right now. Ask where this exact path tends to end. Proverbs 14:12 is the whole skill in one sentence. The feeling of rightness is not evidence of rightness. Trace the road to its destination before you take the first step down it. You already have this book. The question Proverbs keeps asking you is simply, are you actually reading it, or just knowing it exists? I want to ask you one question before you go. Of the 5 principles we just walked through, humility, words, relationships, money, consequences, which one is the one you already know you need to work on right now? You know which one it is. You probably knew before I finished listing them. Drop it in the comments. Not for me, for you. Because naming the thing you need to work on is the first act of the wisdom Proverbs is trying to build in you. If this helped you see Proverbs differently, not as a collection of sayings but as an architecture for decision-making, share it with one person who's in the middle of a hard decision right now. It might be the most useful thing they watch this week. Subscribe, because every week on this channel, we go into the Bible the same way, past the surface, into the structure, into what it actually means for your life today. Because next week, we're going into a verse that's been quoted over 2 billion times, the most searched Bible verse on the entire internet. And almost everyone who quotes it is missing the most important part of what it actually says. I'll see you there. God bless you.